Okay, so yeah, we'll get started with our recording. Again, Cameron Fraley, the YMG chair for SEAC. Today, we're going to be talking about the PE exam, and this is going to be review session one and specific to the PE exam. In the past, we had this grouped together with the SE exam also, but we have decided to break those out. So as you can see on the screen, today we have the PE review session one. We're planning to have another session probably sometime in June. I added to the chat a couple different options on when you might be planning to take the exam. This will help us better plan out when to have these sessions. So if you want to like which message, if you have that availability or ability, that'd be really helpful for us, or you're welcome to pop it in the chat as well. I have made the chat so that just myself and Newton can see it. I'm your host today. So if you need to submit anything anonymously, we won't be having a group message today. So I will be monitoring those for questions, which we'll do after the start of our session here. And then for the SE review, we will be having that first session in the end of July on 7/22. And we are planning additional sessions for those. So just so you know, for the game plan, similarly, so today we're going to do an overview. The next couple of sessions will be more practice problems, and that'll be a similar format for the SE review. And this session is being recorded and then later posted on YouTube. I think that's everything that I have. Newton, do you want to do a quick introduction and then I'll give you the screen?
Yes. Okie dokie. Thanks again, Cameron, and happy to be here. I am Newton or Nabil, aka Newton Khatib. I am a structural engineer at Tetra Tech. I am actually a structural project manager and a structural lead on bridge projects and oil and gas. I'm also the founder and the owner of Legend for Tutoring, a company that helps with FE and PE and plenty more. I am very ecstatic to be here today to present to you some tips and tricks. Hopefully, that will be helpful for you when you study. And the goal here is to make sure that everyone is learning. I am happy to, share with you guys anything that I can help you pass in this exam. I know it's very challenging, but let's do that together. I think, Cameron, I'm ready to take the screen if you are ready.
Perfect, yeah. And I guess other fun fact, I took School of PE when I was studying for my PE exam, and a lot of my structural section was taught by Newton. So
Yeah.
super excited to have him here today to help you all.
Thanks. Okay, now let me share my screen. I am going to share this. And let me know once you see my screen. You guys see it?
I can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Okie dokie, let's get started here. So today is going to be a presentation about on how to prepare for April 2024 PE Civil Structural Exam and hopefully plenty more. I am your presenter again, Nabil Khatib, aka Newton, and let's see here. So I'm going to quickly talk about the Legend for Tutoring. It's not really a presentation about Legend, but just quickly. Okay, let's see here. So established in late 2021, actually we launched the company in 2022 and consider one of the best tutoring company in the STEM courses. Specifically lately, we've been doing a lot of FE and PE, and we added recently SE as well. I passed 3/4 of the SE exam. I'm still one more to go to officially be an SE license. Mainly provide services in the services in the field of FE and PE and actually SE as well. We have perfect Google reviews, almost 182 perfect Google reviews, and we've got passing streaks on FE civil and PE civil structural. I only have one client for the SE. Hopefully, we will have more once I pass all my parts. Objectives for today. It's not really a long presentation, so I am going to take my time to explain every single piece. Please feel free to ask questions. Again, the main goal is to educate you guys and make sure that we are learning, not just a presentation. I know a lot of people think it's just a presentation, talk, talk, talk. No, we want to make sure that we're having actions after that. So the objectives, number one, we are going to briefly talk about the April 2024 changes. And pretty much everyone knows that there is no breadth and depth anymore. It's only depth. What I mean by depth, it's technically all structural, but you'll have some basic stuff on the statics still, mechanics of materials, construction, geotech problems, some of the safety questions, if you're studying the handbook, the reference handbook, it's actually section 2.6. We will be talking about that here shortly. And the other part of the presentation will be talking about tips, tactics, and tricks. Please stop me if you have any questions. Here's a framework that I created, and this is called the 4T framework. It's basically all the T's. I came up with this idea. The first T, it stands for terms or terminology. And basically, you're trying to get familiar with the terminologies, the nomenclatures, the definitions. So you definitely want to be careful about each terminology, what it means. So if you're thinking about like trying to swim in a sea, you really need to make sure that you know the basic, and the basic of taking this exam and passing this exam is to make sure that you know your terminology. And then after that, you can go actually and swim, right? You want to make sure that you know how to, like all the rules before you drive. Same thing here. Once you get the terminologies nailed down, we're moving to the next item here, which is called templates. And it sounds weird, I know, but I will show you here, shortly what templates mean. Templates, it means practice problems. Why you're calling it templates? Because you're creating your own templates, you're creating your own guideline. You're solving a problem on two-way, for example, shear strength, right? The manual tells you to do something, and you're trying to follow the manuals, but let's say the ACI in this case is very broad, and you're taking some from chapter 22, some from chapter 9. So you're building your own cheat sheet, if you want to call that, or guideline. So that I call it a template. Okay, I know the rules. Now I know how to drive, but it's taken me an hour to get to a place where it's only 3 miles away from my house. No, that's not great. Okay, I know, the terminologies. I have practice. I have built all my templates. And now when I'm practicing an exam, it's not taking me 4 hours for the first half. It is taking me 6 hours. So there's a problem. Usually, people who do not pass the exam, at least on the first trial, it's because two reasons. One, time management. Two, not knowing the terminologies / the reference handbooks and the codes very well. So they're asked, which kind of like leads to time management. You're being asked for a question on, let's say, the minimum thickness for beams or concrete beams. You don't really know where to find this. You start, doing Control F, search. That takes, that 5 minutes, and the question, the entire problem is actually allocated 6 minutes. So you're having trouble with that. So time management is the issue. So how to get better with time management? We will share with you guys some, tips and tricks, but mainly start small scale and build that scale until you get 40 problems or whatever, how many problems that you really want to do, right? So don't start with 40 problems and say, well, I'm having 40 problems and still solving these 40 problems in 6 minutes or spend 6 hours or 7 hours. No, that is not really a great way to start. Thinking about it from driving again or swimming. You don't really go all the way to the ocean when you start knowing, or you just learn how to swim. You don't go all the way to crazy streets and 6-lane highway when you just learn how to drive, right? So getting your templates, or sorry, getting your terms or terminologies, getting your templates, solving the problems in a smaller scale, 5 problems, managing my time, build upon that, right? And then you're probably going to ask yourself, what is the fourth T? The fourth T, I call it the result of that. The result of that is the trust. So it's terminologies, templates, time, trust. This framework, you could apply it to anything in life and you will get great results no matter what you're doing. If you're trying to be a good structural engineer, if you're trying to be a good, I guess, tutor, if you're trying to be a good instructor, if you're trying to be a good, even like person, like better doing your things, right? You're waking up in the morning, you know your terminologies, you build and you start like building your own kind of style. You do the time management well. You're not spending 3 hours on the phone and not, seeing your family for 30 minutes. It's like, oh, I'm sick of that. I'm not going to do it anymore. So it's a really good framework for the exam and in general for anything that you would like to learn. Okay, now you've been talking about this framework. And what if I'm taking the exam tomorrow, next week, or in a month? Or I just start looking at things that I want to study for the fall, or I want to take it late fall. So if you're taking the exam tomorrow, which probably not the case for most of you guys, but if you're taking it tomorrow, you've done your part. You are going to do an amazing job tomorrow and take it and nail it. We're not going to talk about this. There's nothing that you can do. What about if I'm taking it next week? Which probably some of you taking it next week or the following week or in a month. Let's talk about this. The first thing that I usually do with my clients is to make sure that they have the 3 items that you see under next week. Review the NCS practice problems, which they have published a new one. They're kind of similar to the old one, but now they're October 2023, and that's the latest one that was published, as far as I remember. And you want to make sure that you review the codes and manuals, and don't forget to quickly review the handbook and the specs. Obviously, specs probably not very ideal for just within a week, but the handbook. Some people is going to tell me, hold on a second, the handbook is not really useful. It's not as it used to be. It used to be really useful for the old one, not as useful as it used to be, but still you would learn a lot from the handbook, especially in 1.5, which is statics, in 1.6, mechanics, in chapter 2, some of the construction stuff, in chapter 3, some of these equations for settlement, time factor, the earth pressure coefficient for Rankine, the rest, passive, active, and then chapter 4 has some good stuff in it, and structural. Probably 5 and 6, you're not going to really touch much transportation and water resources, but still it could be something within these, I guess, sections. And then you can like take, like, for example, some of the techniques for compaction. You don't really do a lot of G-Tech and you've got a question on the exam. So it might not be a bad idea to look through the handbook. Don't really, get things just a day before the exam. I would highly encourage you to be familiar with the handbook and the manuals as much as possible. The sooner, the better for sure. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect, Nick. Thanks. So if you're taking it within a month, review the NCS practice problems and more. What I mean by more, the NCS problems are only 80 problems. So if you're going to take the exam and you're really aiming for passing the exam without any hiccups, I would encourage you to solve problems as much as possible. Too many problems out there. I know you're going to say, well, I have this vendor, they're given these problems, they're really hard, and they're even given an estimate with these problems 1 hour. That's not realistic. We will talk about what would be considered like criteria-wise for a good problem versus not a good problem. Review codes and manuals. Again, going with basic, you're going to see me, solving a problem here, just, quick one, just to tell you about the basic. Our basic pretty much is codes or our codes and the reference handbook. When I say codes, you go to the specs, and under the specs on the NCS website, they have 11 codes and manuals. ACI, the STM manual, the SCE, the IBC, the NDS, like 3 of them. And then you've got the TMS, the PCI, OSHA, 2 of them, right? So a total of 11. And then review the handbook. Again, want to make sure that we're familiar with the handbook and the specs. What about if most of you probably plan to take it in a few months, 3 to 6 usually, perfect time frame for taking this exam and not really stressing too much, probably 3, 4, 5, 6. I know some people that take more than that, 8 months, even a year. I've got clients that are preparing a year, which is not a problem. But sometimes when it's long period, you start losing interest, which that's a total different topic. So if I'm taking it, let's say in August or September or even October, right? The first thing that I would do, I would go to the NCS, open the specs, and you'll have 5 categories. Some of the categories you probably say, oh, these are really easy stuff, right? I'm familiar with dead load. I'm familiar with wind load. I'm familiar with snow. I'm not familiar with seismic, right? You classify the things that you are familiar with versus the stuff that you're not familiar with, which I usually like to do this first thing that I, do something. I was like, okay, here's the exam. I'm familiar with those topics. I'm not familiar with those topics. So I need to prepare, I guess, more on these topics that I'm not familiar with, right? The second thing, which kind of like connect the first item to the second item, review specs and have a game plan. Have a game plan. When I say a game plan, I mean it. It's not just saying, oh, here's really a spreadsheet that I created. It's really great game plan. You don't want to really create a game plan and not stick with that game plan. We don't want to just say talk, 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 and no action, right? You want to make sure that you're like, okay, here's a realistic game plan that works good with my schedule, and I have no problem with putting an hour each day after work. No, I cannot. Let's do 30 minutes. Oh, I don't have a lot of energy on Monday, Wednesday. I have a lot of meetings. I'm going to skip those 2 days, not study, and I'm going to replace these 2 days with more maybe hours on, over the weekends. That's fine, right? So stick with the game plan. Third thing, start collecting resources. A lot of people, they don't really do much with, let's say, TMS or NDS. They don't have the NDS. They don't have the TMS. They don't have AASHTO, for example, which I forgot. Or they have AASHTO, the 6th edition, and now the specs is telling you it's 8th edition. You have the 710 for ASCE, and now it's 716. So you want to make sure that you collect your resources. Don't really get in, deep into the ocean or in the weed and say, oh, I don't have these. I need to go back. Just think about it from building something. Okay, I need to get, the foundation nicely and place the concrete and all do the good stuff and then build upon that. Same thing here. I want to build templates. I need to have the codes and the manuals, right? Start with the NCS practice exam. And people always ask me why. The NCS practice exam